Essays on Untouchables and Untouchability Political by Babasaheb Ambedkar. Chapter 2 4 D. The second instance of direct action against the frame of the Hindu social order itself is the refusal to skin the dead animals belonging to the Hindus and carrying them. One often hears the untouchables being condemned for having brought upon themselves the curse of untouchability. The main ground on which this accusation rests is the adoption by the untouchables as their occupation the carrying of the dead animals of the Hindus and skinning them and eating the carrion. Even so great a friend of the downtrodden as the Abe du Bois, writing about the pariahs of the Madras presidency, said, "What chiefly disgusts other natives is the revolting nature of the food which the pariahs eat. Attracted by the smell, they will collect in crowds round any carrion and contend for the spoils with the dogs, jackals, crows, and other carnivorous animals. They then divide the semi-putrid flesh and carry it away to their huts, where they devour it, often without rice or anything else to disguise the flavor. That the animal should have died of disease is of no consequence to them, and they sometimes secretly poison cows or buffaloes so that they may subsequently feast on the foul, putrefying remains. The carcasses of animals that die in a village belong by right to the thoti or scavenger, who sells the flesh at a very low price to the other pariahs in the neighborhood. When it is impossible to consume in one day the stock of meat thus obtained, they dry the remainder in the sun and keep it in their huts until they run short of their food. There are few pariah houses where one does not see festoons of these horrible fragments hanging up, and though the pariahs themselves do not seem to be affected by the smell, travelers passing near their village quickly perceive it and can tell at once the caste of the people living there. Is it to be wondered at, after what has been just stated, what other castes should hold this in abhorrence? Can they be blamed for refusing to hold any communication with such savages, or for obliging them to keep themselves aloof and to live in the separate hamlets? It is true that this occupation has created a feeling of repugnance against the untouchables in the mind of the Hindu. But the ape, or those who adopt his reasoning, forget to raise two very important questions. First is, why do the untouchables eat carrion? Will the Hindus allow the untouchables the freedom to give up skinning and carrying their dead animals? The answer to the question why the untouchables eat carrion has already been given in previous chapters. No one would prefer carrion to flesh meat if it were available. If the untouchables have been living on carrion, it is not because they like it. They eat carrion because there is nothing else on which they can live. This will be clear to anyone who realizes that on account of untouchability, they have no way left to earn a living. All professions have been closed to them. There is no land on the produce of which they can live, there is no trade which they can engage in. Their mainstay is therefore the food they collect from the villages and the carrion which is left to them. Without carrion, they would literally die of starvation. It is therefore clear that the fault does not lie with the untouchables. If the untouchables eat carrion, it is because the Hindus have left no honorable way of earning a living open to them. To the second question, the answer is equally clear. If the untouchables skin and carry the dead animals of the Hindus, it is because the untouchables have no choice. They are forced to do it. They would be penalized if they refuse to do it. The penalty is legal. In some provinces, the refusal to do this dirty work is a breach of contract. In other provinces, it is a criminal offense involving fines. In provinces like Bombay, the untouchables are village servants. In their capacity as village servants, they have to serve the government as well as the Hindu public. In return for this service, they are given land which they cultivate and on the produce of which they maintain themselves. One of the duties of the untouchables is to skin and carry the dead animals of the Hindus in the villages. If the untouchables refuse to perform these duties to the Hindu public, the land which they live on is liable to be confiscated. They have to choose between doing the dirty work or facing starvation. In provinces like the United Provinces, refusing to do scavenging by sweeper is made an offence. The United Provinces Municipalities Act 2 of 1916 contains the following provisions. Section 201 1. Should a sweeper who has a customary right to do the house scavenging of a house or building, hereinafter called the customary sweeper, fail to perform such scavenging in a proper way, the occupier of the house or building or the board may complain to a magistrate. 2. The magistrate receiving such complaint shall hold an inquiry, and should it appear to him that the customary sweeper has failed to perform the house scavenging of the house or building in a proper way or at a reasonable interval, he may impose upon such a sweeper a fine which may extend to 10 rupees, and upon a second or any later conviction in regard to the same house or building, may also direct the right of the customary sweeper to do the house scavenging of the house or building to be forfeited, and thereupon such right shall be forfeited. Exactly similar provision is to be found in Section 165 of the Punjab Municipalities Act of 1911. The Punjab Act is an advance over the UP Act in as much as it provides for punishment of a sweeper who is not customary sweeper but a contract sweeper. The Punjab Act adds 3. Should any sweeper other than a customary sweeper who is under a contract to do house scavenging of a house or a building discontinue to do such house scavenging without 14 days notice to his employer or without reasonable cause, he shall on conviction be punishable with a fine which may extend to rupees 10 to 27. Every order of forfeitures under section 165 shall be subject to an appeal to the next superior court but shall not be otherwise open to appeal. People may be shocked to read that there exists legal provision which sanctions forced labor. Beyond doubt, this is slavery. The difference between slavery and free labor lies in this. Under slavery, a breach of contract or service is an offense which is punishable with fine or imprisonment. Under free labor, a breach of contract of service is only a civil wrong for which the laborer is liable only for damages. Judged in the light of this criterion, scavenging is a legal obligation imposed upon the untouchables which they cannot escape. Given these conditions, how can the untouchables be accused of doing this dirty work voluntarily? The question whether the untouchables can be accused of having invited the curse of untouchability upon themselves for doing the dirty work of the Hindus is really besides the point. What is important to note is that the conference of the untouchables which met in Mahad resolved that no untouchable shall skin the dead animals of the Hindus, shall carry it or eat the carrion. The object of these resolutions was twofold. The one object was to foster amongst the untouchables self-respect and self-esteem. This was a minor object. The major object was to strike a blow at the Hindu social order. The Hindu social order is based upon a division of labor which reserves for the Hindus clean and respectable jobs and assigns to the untouchables dirty and mean jobs, and thereby clothes the Hindus with dignity and heaps ignominy upon the untouchables. The resolution was a revolt against this part of the Hindu social order. It aimed at making the Hindus do their dirty jobs themselves. This is a brief summary of the history of the revolt of the untouchables against the established order of the Hindu. It originated in Bombay, but it has spread to all parts of India. The end.